So, one of the questions I think that's a great question for us to think about is, what is mindfulness? To kind of review that at any point in time. And what does mindfulness teach us? What capacities do we get to expand when we become more mindful, when we are practicing meditation? And mindfulness really is that capacity to be present with whatever is arising in the moment, which sounds easy, but it's not. It's not easy to do. When we think about the Four Noble Truths, the first one of the four is that it's part of our lives that things don't go our way, that we suffer, that there's hurt and fear and sorrows. The Buddha talked about 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows. So things don't always go our way, big and small. People get sick and die, our bodies start to decay. And so part of our lives is that a capacity to tolerate when things don't go our way. And mindfulness is a way to broaden that capacity, to cultivate some forbearance and the capacity to be what is called like a loving observer, no matter what comes through in our lives. So we often say when something difficult arises, particularly if you're sitting, can you be with it? And that's what we mean. We're cultivating what in psychology might be called affect tolerance, that capacity to tolerate difficult feelings and to be with it. And then not only to be with it, but to also meet it with care. And part of the ways we can do that is to not be judging ourselves or others when we're with something that's difficult that arises. And again, sounds easy, but it's not so easy to do. That capacity to be with difficulty without trying to fix it, without trying to improve ourselves, or without blaming, so that we can expand our window of tolerance. And we could say probably during any time in our lives we need that capacity to expand our window of tolerance, but the particular challenges now with COVID and being encouraged to stay inside, the difficulties over people's values around masks and vaccines, the political divisiveness, these are difficult times. So we're training the capacity to be present. We're training our capacity to be present with whatever arises, not just the sorrows, but the joys, to really take them in, to feel them in our body, in our hearts, and in our minds. So that it can be like a waterfall. As we try to stay present, lots of different thoughts and difficulties might come to mind. And we might just watch. We cultivate the witness, the observer, what we might call in psychology the observing ego, that capacity to watch, bear witness, and be with whatever's happening. Mindfulness has also been translated as remembering. Probably most of you, if not all of you, have heard everything I've said before, but we forget. So we have to come back and remember and re-remember. So I'd like to do a guided meditation now with starting with the concentration practice, because that's what we often start with, right? And we often start with the breath, focusing the attention on the breath. We call it picking an object of attention. The idea being that we cultivate some more concentration, and as we cultivate concentration, the mind and body, the heart, can find some ease so that we can increase that window of tolerance as we meet whatever experience arises with some ease. Now, that's not always true for everybody. When we try to follow the breath, we might become tense or critical of ourselves. If we stop, we forget, we get distracted. So be mindful of that. There are no wrong experiences when we meditate. We're cultivating our capacity to pay attention, to open our hearts, our minds, to have an embodied awareness. And so when we forget or get distracted, our practice is, whenever we notice that, to come back without giving ourselves a hard time. And if you give yourself a hard time, notice that. Notice what it does in your body. Notice what it does in your heart. And notice what it does in the mental experience. So let's begin. Take whatever your seated meditation posture is. If you're new to meditation, simply sit in some upright way. I often recommend thinking of this very top part of the head facing the ceiling, where the soft spot would be. If it's in your practice to close your eyes, please do so now. And feel yourself sitting. You might feel where the buttocks meet the chair. It's a large surface that has contact with something else. So that we're aware right in this moment of that place of contact where the buttocks meets the seat. Maybe where the feet are. If you have shoes on, maybe feeling the bottoms of the feet inside the shoes. We're refining our awareness, becoming more sensitive, more awake. Noticing the hands. Where are they? Are they touching something? Part of your body, part of the chair, each other. Noticing the sensations there. No right or wrong way to have your hands. Noticing if the temperature is different in the hands, particularly where they might be touching some part of your body or the chair. Allowing it to be so. As we practice, we might notice more subtle sensations. If the eyes are closed, where the top lid of the eye meets the bottom lid. Subtle. the back of the eyelid on the eyeball. Sensations in the mouth, inside the cheeks. Refining our awareness. No right or wrong way to have the eyelids touching the eyeballs. So we say greeting experience with curiosity, friendliness, interest, gentleness. Attuning to the breath now. If you haven't already, feeling the breath move in the body. You don't have to make this happen. Noticing where the sensation of breath is the strongest for you. Is it at the nostrils? Feeling the air come in and come out through the nostrils? Do you notice what feels like a different temperature on the in-breath at the nostrils and then on the out-breath at the nostrils? No right or wrong experiences. Simply being with what happens from moment to moment. No good or bad. Settling into the awareness itself. Feeling the breath at the chest now. Noticing the natural movement that's created there, so that we're receiving experience. Allowing ourselves to be breathed. Feeling how the body breathes itself. Moving now to the sensations of breath at the belly. Maybe feeling the expansion of the belly on the in-breath, like a Buddha belly. Full and round, letting go, being with. Perhaps feeling the belly relax on the out-breath. Whatever your experience is, Allow it to be so. Paying attention now to the bodily experience. Softening. You might notice as you soften into the breath and receiving experience, the heart can feel safer, more open, more receptive to experience. If you like, on the in-breath, whispering the word here, and on the out-breath, whispering the word now. Settling in with whatever part of the body feels most accessible to feel the breath. And if the breath is not an easy way, an easy object to pay attention, maybe feeling the hands. And feeling the fingers from the inside. Perhaps in your experience, you might feel the co-arising of mindfulness and loving kindness, compassion, equanimity, any of the heart practices, appreciation. Or simply the heart opening. If you like, opening the senses to sound, if you haven't already. Aware of ambient sounds. And if the concentration is steady, maybe opening to thoughts. The changing nature of experience, like a waterfall. How quickly there's change. Opening the awareness, you might notice preferences. I like this, I don't like that. I want this, I don't want that. All held in awareness. Nothing to do, nothing to change. When we can steady ourselves, we can see this changing nature of experience. Impermanence. Changing sensations. Thoughts and emotions coming and going. This is a poem by May Sarton called Autumn Sonnet. If I can let you go as trees let go their leaves so casually one by one, if I can come to know what they do know, that fall is the release, the consummation, then fear of time and the uncertain fruit will not distemper the great lucid skies. This strangest autumn, mellow and acute, if I can take the dark with open eyes and call it seasonal, not harsh or strange. For love itself may need a time of sleep, and tree-like stand unmoved before the change. Lose what I lose to keep what I can keep. The strong root still alive under the snow. Love will endure if I can let you go. Autumn Sonnet by May Sarton. And if you like, you can bring the palms together in front of the chest in a bow if that is in your practice. Taking these moments to honor your intention and efforts to cultivate more mindfulness and loving kindness, opening the heart, paying attention, attunement, and whatever benefits that have accrued from your practice today, may you dedicate them in some way to yourself or others, perhaps others that are suffering. To others for waking up, being present, being peaceful and harmonious, cultivating the capacity to care, to be with whatever arises. And when you're ready, feel free to lower the hands. Please let yourself move around and stretch any kinks. And while you do, I'll share this quote from Einstein, rather clever quote. He said, "If you can drive safely while kissing someone, then you're not paying enough attention to the kiss."